Now that you've laid out the framework for your business solution for the commercial advertising quote request, what we want to do now is start configuring some of the actions that we're using. We'll start at the top with the query list action. In this action, what we want to do is we want to grab content from another list instead of having to recreate it fresh or ask our end user to fill in the information. If it already exists, why recreate it? So let's hop in query list. And what we want to do is we want to go to a subsequent list called commercial buildings. And in commercial buildings, we want to grab the URL for the building image. And we also want to grab the country that that building is in, so that way we can further customize document generation at a later point. So how we do that is we'll go and choose the list that we wish to use. And in this example, we'll want to grab commercial buildings. Once we grab commercial buildings, we'll go and grab the fields below and select the fields from the commercial buildings list we wish to capture information from. We'll look for the picture URL field, click that, select add, and then we'll also do the same thing for the country. What you'll notice though is that we need variables to store those values in. And if I select the drop-down next to picture URL, nothing appears. So we need to create variables. Nintex Workflow gives you two different ways to create variables. One through workflow settings, or you can actually do that within the action configuration itself. Up on the top ribbon, you'll notice a button called variables. I'll click on that and a new screen will appear. It'll allow us to create new variables of different data types. Select new and start creating your variable. In here, what I'll need to do is create a building variable. We'll choose a single line of text and we'll call this one building image. You can use different design processes for your name, such as camel casing or any other name building choice that you want to use. In this, we'll just use a single line of text, non-spaced words together, such as building image. And we'll choose save. And then we'll do another one for the country. Then we'll close that screen, and what you'll notice now is that those options are now available for us to store values in. Alright, so we can capture the picture URL and the country stored in different variables. And then we'll click save, and you'll notice that the exclamation point that was next to the action is now gone. We've already set up our state machine in the prior video to give us the different states the workflow needs to go down, so we're not going to be concerned with setting up this action further, except there is one point I do want to address. You'll notice that we do have change state actions at the end of these different branches. One that does not contain that change state action is the generate quote branch. And the reason is, well, we didn't add it yet. So one potential issue that you would notice if we didn't have that change state action is that the loop would not end. We would actually start the workflow in Nintex Workflow Cloud and the looping logic would still stay active. So let's fix that right now. We'll go and select the change state action, drop that below the Start Nintex Workflow Cloud action, double-click to configure, and under the states, you'll see that we have the discount review and generate quote actions, or states from before. What we also have is the end state machine, and so what that will allow us to do is to exit this looping branch, and that ends at this point. Now, if you needed any other actions to execute outside of the state machine, you can add those actions below in this Perl. Let's scroll back up and work on the set condition. Now, the purpose of this set condition is to take a look and see if the discount first has been selected for the quote, and also does that discount exceed a value. In this business process, we need to evaluate if it's 7% or more. So let's go and configure the set condition action. We have a condition where we look for the current item field value, which is the current item that this workflow is executing under. What we'll want to do then is we'll want to take a look at certain field values. And in this field value, we want to choose discount because that's the amount that they're applying to. And also, this is the yes/no question too. So what we want to do is make sure that first, the equals yes, that they've actually requested a discount. But that's not all. We need to also make sure that the value that they've requested in the discount is greater than or equal to 7%. So what we'll do at that point is we'll put additional condition for and we'll keep it again as the current field item equals value because we're still working within the context of that current field item. And this time what we'll choose though is the requested discount field. That requested discount field is the number value. And what we'll do though is set the operator to is greater than or equal to. Now the value itself, because we don't want to put 7 and the percent symbol, we'll actually use the numerical value of 0.07 to check against. Now we could add additional conditions, but this satisfies our need for the control. So once we're done with that configuration, click Save, and now our setting is set. One item to take note too is we could leave set a condition as the action title or label for the action, but let's give a greater idea of what the purpose of this action is. And so I'll actually add a new label. What you'll notice now is that you won't have to actually click into the action to see the purpose of this action. The label will give you an identifier as to the purpose of this actual action. Next, we want to go down and assign the task if the request has been submitted looking for a discount and that discount is 7% or greater. So we'll double click on a flexi-task action. And a flexi-task action is a very popular action within Nintex workflow because it's rather powerful. Within this action, we can choose our assignee or assignees, create individual tasks for those group members, or just have one task to be assigned to all. In the sake of time, what we'll do is we can assign this to any group or OU that we want to use, but just as a quick identifier, we'll actually assign this back to the initiator. Now, Nintex Workflow gives you the ability to choose from common sections where you can choose a manager, you can choose an initiator, and how that's done is we use user profile services to go and look up the manager associated with the initiator. So we could choose initiator right here. Let's actually just choose manager. Double click on manager, click OK, and there we go. Now our manager is actually assigned. We could configure more options, such as a reminder, and we could put the number of reminders we want, and then also the frequency of those reminders, and we can actually take into account the business days only or business hours only, and then actually build in a potentially strongly worded reminder email if we wish, and then also leverage escalations where we can choose an escalation type of delegate the task to a manager, or just complete the task outright with the default completion type. However, this is all we really need to do right now, so we'll just click on Save. If the action has been denied or rejected by the assignee, what we can do is send a notification to the initiator. This is almost the same process as selecting the assignee, but here what I'll do is I'll click the Browse icon, I'll go right back to Lookup, and I will choose the initiator to let them know that it's failed. What we can do then is create a custom subject, and you can actually apply additional information within the body of the email too. And now we'll click Save. What we'll want to do though is we'll want to set this back to be reevaluated so we can go back to discount review. And after that, if it has been approved though, what we'll want to do is we'll want to go and set the state for document generation. So we'll go and configure the change state action to go to generate quote. Now, before I move over to the Generate Quote branch, what I'll also want to do is make sure that if no discount is selected, we don't just exit the workflow, that we still move over to the Generate Quote branch, but we don't take an account for any approval in the assigned flexi-task action. To do that, you guessed it, we'll go to the Change State action and then select Generate Quote, completely bypassing the other branch over here and quickly moving over to the Generate Quote branch.